The other thing Bob O'Donnell in Virginia said was, you know, you can't seed these things. So let me just talk with you. You know, how I deal with energy, how I'll deal with the natural environment, and I'll briefly talk about taxes, regulation, and stuff, and then open it up for discussion. But in terms of energy, we have the most inane energy policy on Earth. We've mothballed a perfectly good nuclear power plant. It was producing power at 3 cents a kilowatt hour. We've torn out our dams, or sold them off to Florida Power and Light owns our dams. We've passed legislation that prohibits Banker Hydro Central Maine Power from generating power. Doesn't give other people a chance, but prohibits them. We put a moratorium on every source of energy that's economic in the state of Maine, as far as I can see, except the cause du jour, which is wind. And then you say, well, maybe we shouldn't have Canadian hydro, because that will underprice wind. It'll be 1/10 as expensive, and therefore it's going to hurt our wind industry, so therefore we should ban it. And I said, who is the state government thinking of? The wind owners, or are they thinking of the people and the businesses here? When I went to Bangor Hydro, our electric rates were 8% above the national average. Today they're 50% above the national average, by choice. And I ask you, what have we gotten out of that? And so I say what you need to do is put all the energy options on the table. I mean, as head of the energy office in Alaska, I ran windmills in the Arctic Circle. I had to both ban and subsidize wood stoves by law. Same wood stoves. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, I've done conservation in the North Slope, and I had all kinds of experiences here in Maine. And what we don't do, our legislature right now doesn't connect the dots. We say, oh, we like hydro. We're going to bring somebody over from Norway because they have offshore wind. I'm sorry. And I say, yeah, but in Norway, they have offshore wind, but they back it with onshore hydro. In Denmark, they have onshore wind, but they back it with nuclear power. In the Midwest, they have wind in the Great Plains, but they back it with T. Boone's Pickens, you can see it on TV all the time, his natural gas. And we have hydro ourselves that we've sold off and we can buy it back. We have the lowest cost hydro available in the world in Canada, and they want to get it down to Massachusetts and Connecticut. I mean, Vermont's just cut a deal with them. There's no reason we shouldn't be doing that kind of thing. And we have offshore gas and oil estimates between $20 and $200 billion worth of net reserves in the outer continental shelf in the Gulf of Maine. So I say yes, we ought to drill at least one oil well under one of Angus King's windmills out in the Gulf of Maine, and then have horizontal drilling that covers 40 square miles for one well. And you say to yourself, a little tourism. So I'll ask you, particularly you more senior people, do you know anybody that has ever canceled a North Cape cruise to Norway, or who has canceled the game of golf at St. Andrews in Scotland, canceled a sail in the Irish Sea, canceled a salmon fish in the Humber River in Newfoundland, canceled a bike ride in Cape Breton Island because they had oil and gas 5 miles, 10 miles offshore? I mean, it's rules. It just isn't true. We need to look at our options. We need to connect the dots. And that's what, as a governor, I think that's what you need. You need a legislature, you need a governor, you need commissioners that will connect the dots of those things. You look at our natural resources. We've got the largest contiguous, privately owned commercial forest east of the Mississippi. We've got 32,000 square miles. That's the same land mass as Ireland. We have 3,000 miles of shore frontage, same as Ireland. You know, we stick out in the North Atlantic, same as Ireland. We speak English with an accent, same as Ireland. We don't have an east-west highway, same as Ireland. So ask yourself, and they've had some problems now, so somebody's going to immediately say, well, they got a problem. But what Ireland did is they cut their corporate income tax from 40 to 11%. And everybody says, state revenue is going to collapse. Irish government revenues, it went up fourfold. Because with a lower tax, people began to make money. It induced more investment, and only profitable companies pay taxes. And everybody was unprofitable before that. I mean, that's the kind of thinking we've got to do. I mean, that's called supply-side economics, so we can get into that. So that's the kind of thing. So you've got the, we say, well, are we the end of the line? No. We're the corridor for the Maritimes to the continent. We're Quebec's corridor to the sea. Look at our seaports. What if we were to take 1/1000th of our coastline? That's only 3 miles out of 1,000. 1/1000th of our coastline. And you put an LNG plant on one, you put a real seaport on another, you put a nuclear power plant on a third. And then 999% of our shore frontage is preserved. You say, why can't we do it? And you say, why would we do it? Because our seaports are 1/2 day closer by container port to Rotterdam and London in Europe than are the seaports in Baltimore and New York, and time is money. It's the same reason of putting an east-west highway across northern Maine to connect New Brunswick with Montreal. It's a half-day savings. Time is money. It's that if we streamline our education stuff, so instead of having Maine learning results and elementary learning standards and assessment modeling that goes on and on and on, so that we are hiring substitute teachers to come in and teach a half day every single week so that our regular teachers can get away from the kids and do all this paperwork. You can consolidate that and save a half day. So it's all these things. It's, money, prosperity. Moving Maine from poverty to prosperity is very straightforward. It's nickels and dimes, nickels and dimes. It's sending signals. For instance, we have a great law in taxes. And that law is basically says that we will let you get a tax rebate, a reimbursement, for equipment that you buy. Now that's a really good law for investment here. It's also a good law for attracting investment from away. Except the legislature has moved that down to 90%. So the signals that we're sending it's not reliable. Same thing with our paper mills. We have a tax exemption for sales tax on electricity bought by a major industry. We've just lowered it from 85% from 95% to 85%. And it's those trends, it's those little tiny things. That's why, as a governor, I would say I'll veto those kinds of changes. We will preserve, we'll get them fully done. So it's not just the tax level. Our tax levels are overall well above the national average. Our family incomes are 80% of the national average. All I will ask as governor is that we lower our taxes to the national average. Should be down to 80% of the national average, but just lower our taxes down to the national average. And we can't do it instantly. You can do it over 2 or 3 years, but do it, and it's going to make it even more difficult to balance the budget, but we have to do it because we're too poor. At Husson, when we started the budget, and Husson's been growing at 10% a year, enrollment-wise, we said, what's the lower income kids that are on Pell Grants at Husson, what can they afford to pay? That's our starting point. We multiply by the number of kids, that's our budget. It's not what our wants and needs are in administration or the coaches or the faculty. That's what our starting point is. Think what would happen if we had a similar philosophy to the state of Maine, where if we started with the premise that we'll start with saying, what can a small business operator, what can a sawmill afford? What can a mom and pop operation, a consultant operation, a shoe manufacturer, an Aegis destroyer at Bath Iron Works, take the Jackson Lab, take those kinds of things. What can they afford? And then build your tax base on that, and that's what the state revenue is. So instead of saying what everybody needs, and that we're a sanctuary state, and that we're going to give welfare to people that come in the day they come here because that's a nice thing to do, the problem is when you're poor, and you don't have enough money, and you've got to allocate limited resources, it means that people that are in Maine that are desperately in need won't get a chance to